I've always believed that relationships don't shatter in a single moment. They crack slowly, quietly, almost politely. You don't hear the sound until much later, when the damage is already done. Looking back now, I can't point to the exact second when everything between Emily and me began to fade. But I can feel the shape of it, a silence here, an unfinished sentence there, a kiss that landed a little too lightly. Small things, ordinary things, things you ignore until you can't. Emily and I had been together for 6 years, married for almost 4. That kind of duration brings a strange comfort, like the way you stop noticing the hum of your refrigerator until a sudden blackout makes the silence feel wrong. That's what it was like with us, a hum I'd forgotten to appreciate. And then the unsettling quiet that followed. The first real sign came on a Thursday evening. I remember it because Thursdays used to be our unwritten tradition. Emily cooked, I cleaned, and then we'd watch something stupid on TV while pretending not to be exhausted from work. But that night, I came home to a dark apartment. No lights, no sound. Just a note on the counter, working late. Don't wait up. Emily rarely stayed late. She hated her office, hated her manager, hated the fluorescent lights that made her look, in her own words, like a wilted lettuce leaf. So the note felt strange, but not alarming. People work late. People get busy. I tossed the thought aside and ordered takeout. But when midnight came, and she still wasn't home, the quiet felt different, like someone had turned down the volume on the world. I texted her, something light, something casual. Me. Hey, everything okay? She didn't answer. At 1:14 a.m., the lock finally clicked and she walked in. Her hair was slightly messy, her cheeks flushed as if from rushing. Or something else? She froze when she saw me awake. You're still up? She said. Her tone wasn't surprised, it was cautious. I nodded. You didn't answer my message. She blinked, looked down at her phone. Sorry, battery died. She tossed it on the counter too quickly, like it was hot. The explanation didn't bother me at the time. What bothered me was the way she avoided my eyes, heading straight for the bedroom without giving me the usual tired smile. Something in her energy felt off, like she was carrying something heavy, and I wasn't supposed to know, but I didn't ask. I didn't push. Maybe that was the first mistake. Over the next 2 weeks, the late nights multiplied. Twice a week, then 3. She changed her perfume. She changed her phone's lock screen. She changed the way she said my name, soft, but without warmth, like I was someone she needed to get past, rather than get close to. I tried telling myself that I was imagining things. Paranoia was the last thing I wanted. I'd seen friends crash their own relationships with suspicion alone, turning shadows into monsters. I didn't want to be one of them. But denial only lasts as long as reality allows it. The turning point wasn't dramatic. It wasn't explosive. It was a simple moment, so small, so painfully ordinary that I knew instantly something was wrong. I was making coffee before work. Emily was in the shower. Her phone buzzed on the table, lighting up with a preview of a message. I shouldn't have looked. I didn't intend to. But my eyes caught the name before I had a chance to look away. Liam, office, then the message under it. Same time today. Yesterday was unexpected. My chest tightened in a slow, suffocating way. My mouth went dry. My heartbeat changed rhythm, stumbling over itself like a runner missing a step. Unexpected. Same time. Emily never mentioned a coworker named Liam. Not once. Not even in passing. And she talked a lot about work. Too much sometimes. But never him. I stared at the phone, willing the message to mean something innocent. Unexpected could mean a surprise meeting, or a mistake at work. Something harmless, something boring. But a part of me, the part that had been quietly collecting clues, knew better. When Emily walked out of the bathroom, wrapped in a towel and humming softly to herself, I felt like I was staring at a stranger wearing her face. She didn't notice anything off. I handed her the cup of coffee I'd made her without saying a word. Her smile looked real. Mine didn't. Work felt impossible that day. Every email felt blurry. Every meeting sounded distant. My thoughts spiraled in endless circles. Should I confront her? Am I overreacting? What if I'm wrong? What if I'm right? By evening, I'd convinced myself to stay calm, to gather more context before jumping to conclusions. That decision didn't save me from anything. It only prolonged the fall. 3 nights later, I came home early, earlier than I ever did. The apartment was empty, the lights off. Emily's phone charger was gone. Her work shoes were missing. But her office called me at 5 p.m. and asked if she was feeling better. Feeling better? She hadn't even gone. And that was the night I knew that something was deeply, painfully wrong. But I wasn't ready to face it. Not yet. Because sometimes the truth feels heavier than the lie. And I wasn't strong enough to carry it. I wish I could say that everything fell apart suddenly, that there was one sharp moment when the truth revealed itself, and I understood everything at once. But the reality was slower, quieter, almost invisible at first, like hairline fractures in glass that spread long before you hear the actual break. It started with her phone. Not because she hid it, but because she suddenly protected it like something fragile. She used to leave it everywhere, on the table, on the arm of the couch, on the windowsill. I'd pick it up, hand it to her, sometimes tease her about nearly smashing it. But now she kept it face down. She jumped at every notification. And when she typed, she angled her body away from me, not obviously, just enough that I noticed. And noticing was the worst part, because once you notice one strange detail, you start noticing more. She began staying late at work. At first it made sense: new deadlines, a demanding client. I trusted her, so I didn't question it. But then the explanations stopped matching the tone. She'd come home exhausted but strangely energized inside, like someone who had lived a second secret day that I knew nothing about. She'd smell like perfume she didn't use in the morning, the kind she wore only for events. And she stopped talking about her day. That was the biggest shift. We used to talk about everything, even boring office gossip: who spilled coffee, who got promoted, who was annoying. But I realized that for weeks, I didn't know a single name she mentioned. It was like she had moved to a different life, and I wasn't invited. One night, when she fell asleep early on the couch, her phone buzzed. Normally I wouldn't have even looked, but something inside me froze. Not because I wanted to invade her privacy, but because a part of me already knew something was off, and my heart reacted before my mind did. The message preview showed a name I didn't recognize. A simple line: "Get home safe. Tonight was amazing." My stomach twisted so sharply, I felt dizzy. It wasn't explicit. It wasn't proof. But my body treated it like a blow. I didn't open the message. I couldn't. I just stared at it, unable to breathe. When she shifted in her sleep, I nearly dropped the phone. I placed it back where it had been, hands shaking, and stood there watching her. She looked peaceful, innocent, the same person I loved, the same person who said she loved me. And I hated myself for even suspecting her. For the next few days, I tried to convince myself it was nothing. Maybe it was a coworker, and they meant a team dinner. Maybe amazing meant productivity or a project. Maybe I was paranoid, insecure, reading too much into a harmless moment. That worked until the night she didn't come home at all. She texted me around 10 p.m., running late. "Don't wait up." It was a strange message, short, cold, missing the usual warmth. I stayed awake anyway. Midnight passed, then 1 a.m., then 2. At 2:47 a.m. I finally heard the door open. I wasn't angry. I wasn't yelling. I wasn't even sure I felt anything. I just sat there on the couch, numb. As she walked in, she looked surprised to see me awake, almost startled. "You should have slept," she said quietly. "I couldn't," I answered. "Where were you?" She froze, not in guilt, but in calculation. I saw her eyes shift slightly, like she was flipping through excuses in her mind. That moment was worse than any lie she could have told. She said something about a work emergency, about helping a colleague, about losing track of time. I nodded, pretending I believed her, but inside, something collapsed, and she knew it. For the rest of the night, we barely spoke. She pretended nothing was wrong. I pretended I was okay. But between us, something raw and sharp filled the air, a tension we both felt but neither dared to name. The next morning, when she got ready for work, I watched her in the doorway. She didn't meet my eyes once. It was the first morning in years that she didn't kiss me goodbye. And that tiny missing gesture, something so small, so ordinary, hurt more than the strange message or the late nights or the silence, because it confirmed what I had been afraid to admit. Something was happening, and I was losing her, slowly, quietly, and completely. The following weeks felt like walking through a house where the walls had shifted overnight. Everything looked the same, but nothing felt familiar anymore. The colors were colder. The echoes were sharper. The routines felt forced. It was as if someone had replaced our life with a quiet imitation, one where we played the same roles, but without the warmth that used to fill the space between us. We talked, but the conversations were hollow, like tapping on the surface of something that used to be solid but now sounded empty. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. She reached for my hand sometimes, but her fingers touched lightly, like she was afraid of breaking something that was already broken. I kept trying to convince myself it was just stress, that couples go through rough patches, that I was imagining things, exaggerating them, letting insecurity cloud my judgment. But reality has a way of pushing through, no matter how tightly you try to hold the door shut. One evening, as she cooked dinner, I stood in the doorway watching her. She didn't notice me at first. She was humming softly, a tune I didn't recognize. She used to hum songs that we both knew, songs we shared, but this one felt foreign, like it belonged to a world she lived in when I wasn't around. "Need help?" I asked. She jumped slightly, not the reaction of someone comfortable in the presence of the person they love. "No, it's fine," she said quickly, almost too quickly. "I'm almost done." I stepped closer, trying to bridge the invisible gap. "I miss talking to you," I admitted. My voice sounded smaller than I intended. "I feel like I don't know anything about your days anymore." She hesitated. For a second, something flickered across her face, guilt, sadness. I couldn't tell. Then it disappeared behind the calm mask she had been wearing for weeks. "I'm just tired," she said. "There's a lot happening at work. Is it something you want to talk about?" "No," she answered, a little too sharply. Then she softened her tone, as if realizing it. I don't want to bring work problems home." The problem was, she never used to say that. She shared everything, even things she thought were too small or silly. Now, her entire life outside our home felt like a locked room I didn't have the key to. Later that night, she got another message. My heart tensed instinctively, like a reflex. She angled her body away as she read it, her face illuminated by the screen. The corners of her mouth lifted, not a smile, not really, but something subtle, something soft. I pretended I didn't see. She left the room to take a call. She never used to do that either. When she returned, she sat next to me on the couch. But the space between us felt wider than the entire room. I tried to move closer, to rest my arm behind her, to create some kind of connection, but she tensed, as if unsure, as if conflicted, as if being near me brought more confusion than comfort. When she eventually leaned her head on my shoulder, it felt like nostalgia, not affection, like she was remembering what we used to be rather than feeling it now. That night, after she fell asleep, I stared at the ceiling for hours. My thoughts were loud, messy, spiraling in circles that led nowhere. I kept asking myself the same questions. What changed? When did it begin? Was it something I did? Was it something I failed to do? I thought about the small things I had neglected, the times I came home late from work, the days I was distant because of stress, the weeks when our routine became monotonous. Were those the cracks she slipped through? The guilt ate at me, even though I wasn't sure if I deserved it. One weekend, I suggested we go out, just the two of us, dinner, a movie, a walk by the river. Anything, something to remind us of us. She hesitated, then said she had already made plans. With who? I asked gently. A friend, she answered. Too vague, too practiced. I didn't push. I didn't want to be the clingy, suspicious partner. But the lack of details stung more than her refusal to spend time together. When she left, she looked different, more alive somehow, as if she were stepping into the life she wanted, while leaving the old one, the one with me, behind like a faded photograph. I sat alone in the quiet apartment, surrounded by memories that suddenly felt fragile. Everywhere I looked, I saw pieces of our life, photos, gifts, notes, shared furniture, and each one felt like a reminder of something slipping through my fingers. It wasn't one big moment that hurt. It was the accumulation of small ones. The way she drifted a little farther every day, inch by inch, until the space between us was a chasm. And the worst part, I still loved her, completely, hopelessly, even as I felt her fade. Even as I felt myself falling, even as I realized something I didn't want to admit, she was already halfway gone. The night everything finally shattered didn't begin with anything dramatic. No yelling, no accusations, no obvious sign that the moment I'd been dreading for weeks was waiting just around the corner. It started quietly. Too quietly. She came home later than usual, almost midnight. I had been sitting in the living room with only the lamp on, trying not to look like I was waiting, even though that's exactly what I was doing. My chest felt tight, like someone had tied a rope around it and pulled. When she opened the door, she froze for a second when she saw me awake. Her eyes widened, just a little surprise, maybe guilt, maybe something else. She forced a smile. You're still up? Yeah, I said, trying to sound calm. I just couldn't sleep. She walked in slowly, like someone entering a room full of tripwires. She set down her bag, removed her jacket, and avoided my eyes in a way I couldn't ignore anymore. Her whole body gave away something she wouldn't say out loud. Did you eat? She asked. Double quotes. No, I was waiting. She hesitated. You didn't have to. I know. Silence settled between us, heavy, tense, electric. She fidgeted with her sleeves, then looked toward the hallway as if wishing the conversation would magically disappear. Can we talk? I finally asked. The words felt like stones in my mouth. She froze again, this time longer. About what? She said quietly, even though she already knew. I took a breath. About us? Her shoulders sagged, as if the weight of everything she'd been hiding pressed down on her all at once. She sat on the edge of the couch, leaving a careful gap between us. A gap that felt symbolic. I don't want to fight, she whispered. I'm not trying to fight. My voice broke a little despite my effort to keep it steady. I just need honesty. That's all I've wanted this whole time. She closed her eyes, and when she opened them again, they glistened not with sadness for me, but with fear of the truth she knew was coming. I know things have been weird lately, she began. Weird? I let out a short, painful laugh. You've been avoiding me. You barely talk to me. You hide your phone. You make plans you won't explain. I don't need to be a genius to know something is wrong. She flinched, but didn't deny it. I swallowed hard. Is there someone else? Silence. Not even breathing. Those few seconds felt like a lifetime, stretching and snapping all at once. Her eyes dropped to her hands. I didn't mean for anything to happen, she said in a trembling voice. I didn't plan it. I didn't go looking for it. Whatever this is, my heart cracked, slow and agonizing, like glass splitting under pressure. So there is someone. She nodded, barely, but enough. The room felt colder instantly. My breath caught. Every sound faded, leaving only the pounding of my heartbeat. Who? I asked, though part of me didn't want the answer. It doesn't matter, she whispered. It matters to me. She hesitated. Someone from work, of course. The late messages, the sudden extra projects, the new energy she had when she left the house, but never when she came home. How long? I asked, staring at the floor because I couldn't look at her. A while, she said softly. But it wasn't serious. Not like us. I cut in sharper than I wanted to. She didn't respond. My chest felt like it was caving in. I pressed my hand over my heart instinctively, like that would hold the pieces together. So what now? I whispered. Do you love him? No. She said quickly, almost panicking. I don't. It's not love. I lost myself. I felt stuck. I felt like we were stuck. I didn't know how to fix it, and I was scared to tell you. So you told him instead. She winced as if the words physically hurt. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry. But the apology didn't reach me. Not because it wasn't sincere, maybe it was, but because the damage was too deep. Because I had spent weeks drowning quietly while she built a lifeboat for someone else. I finally looked at her, and she looked small, fragile, broken even. But I couldn't tell if she was broken because she hurt me, or because her secret was finally exposed. I loved you, I said, my voice cracking openly now. I loved you so much I didn't notice I was losing you. You didn't lose me, she whispered desperately. I'm here. I want to fix this. Then why didn't you stop? I asked. Why didn't you choose us when it mattered? She turned away, her face crumpling. I don't know, she whispered through tears. And somehow, I don't know hurt more than a yes, because it meant she didn't stumble. She drifted slowly, quietly, deliberately away from me. We spent the rest of the night sitting in the same room, but miles apart. No yelling, no throwing things, just quiet heartbreak, the kind that sinks deep and stays. At some point, she asked softly, do you want me to leave? I didn't answer right away. I didn't know the answer. My heart wanted her to stay. My pride wanted her gone. My mind was a battlefield. Finally, I whispered, I don't know, because the truth was simple and devastating. She had broken something I didn't know how to rebuild. I always thought endings happened in a single moment. A slam of a door, a shouted sentence, a final goodbye. But real endings aren't loud. They unfold quietly, like dust settling after something heavy breaks. The days after our conversation felt unreal. She moved around the apartment like a ghost, soft steps, careful movements, eyes swollen from crying. I wasn't much better. Every room held a memory that now felt rewired, corrupted, rewritten by a truth I didn't ask for. I avoided her not out of anger, but because I didn't know how to breathe in the same space anymore. Every time I looked at her, I saw two versions of her at once, the woman I loved and the woman who broke me. She kept asking if we could talk, but I wasn't ready. I needed silence. She respected that mostly, but the silence between us kept growing, stretching, thinning until it felt like something would snap. And it did. The message arrived on the third night. Not on her phone. On mine. A number I didn't recognize sent me a short, blunt text. We didn't mean to hurt you. I stared at it for a long time, my pulse hammering in my ears. My hands went cold. My stomach twisted. I didn't need a name to know who it was. It was him, the colleague, the man who stepped into my life's blind spot and stole something that wasn't his to touch. Before I could react, another message came. She ended it. It's over. Please don't involve me in anything. That second part told me everything I needed to know. He wasn't messaging out of guilt. He was scared. Scared I would expose him. Scared I would tell his girlfriend or his fiancée or his boss. Scared of consequences finally landing where they should. And for the first time, I didn't feel hurt. I felt clarity. I didn't reply. Not yet. Instead, I walked to the living room where she sat curled on the couch, staring blankly at the TV without watching it. When she noticed me, her whole body stiffened. We need to talk, I said. She nodded, terrified. I sat across from her, too far for comfort yet close enough for truth. I got a message. I began. Her hands trembled instantly. Her voice cracked. From who? You know who. She closed her eyes, pain washing across her face. I told him not to contact you, she whispered. That didn't stop him. She looked like she might shatter right there. And for a moment, just a moment, I felt the old instinct to go to her, to comfort her, to protect her from whatever she feared. But I didn't move. because she wasn't the one who needed protection anymore. I was. I have a question, I said quietly. And I need the truth this time. She nodded slowly. Okay, why him? She looked down at her hands, twisting her fingers together. When she spoke, her voice was small, fragile, full of shame. I felt invisible, she said. I felt like I wasn't enough. He made me feel wanted again. I know it's not an excuse, it's not, I said sharply, though my voice broke too. I know, she whispered. I know, I ruined everything. I ruined us. A tear slid down her cheek, then another. But I didn't move toward her. Do you still love me? I asked. She looked up, eyes wet, voice trembling. With everything I have left, it hurt to hear, because part of me still loved her too. Of course I did. Love doesn't vanish on command, but something deeper had changed, something fundamental. I can't stay, I said softly. Her face crumpled. Please, don't say that. Don't do this. We can fix it. I'll do anything, therapy, honesty, whatever you want, just don't leave. I shook my head. This isn't about punishment. It's about trust. And trust, once it breaks, it doesn't come back the same. She covered her mouth, sobbing silently. I stood up. My legs felt heavy, but my decision didn't. I'll stay at my brother's for a few days, I said. After that, we'll figure out the apartment. But we both know we can't go back to what we were. She reached for me, instinct, desperation, but her hands stopped halfway, like she realized she no longer had the right to touch me. I'm sorry, she whispered through tears. I'm so sorry. I know, I said. But sorry doesn't unbreak anything. I grabbed my bag, already half prepared days ago, even if I didn't admit it to myself at the time. She watched me, shaking, breathless, helpless. I loved you, I said quietly at the door. I still do, but loving you shouldn't hurt this much. When I stepped outside, the air felt colder than it should have, but also clearer. For the first time in months, the world didn't feel tight around my chest. It felt open. Broken, yes, but open. I closed the door behind me, not loudly, not dramatically. Just finally. And as I walked into the quiet of the night, I realized something. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is leave the place where your heart learned to break.